This is Ilene Rein from Pounding Pavement 101. I'm here today with Pat Shepard, who is a parent of two sons. Hi, Pat. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Ilene. How are you? It's great to see you.
Wonderful. You have two sons who have gone through my training programs. What were your concerns as they were graduating college or college students and entering the job search process?
Well, my concern was that my older son, who is now 24, there's 4 years apart, so he was in the game before the younger one, quite a bit before, after, before, whatever. But he always had trouble just organizing himself and understanding how to play the game of job hunting, networking, schmoozing it up with people, finding a way in and kind of being able to perceive things, nonverbal communication. So he just wasn't that, I don't want to say this about my son, but he wasn't that sharp about just picking up on what he needed to do in order to succeed as an adult. And so the big concern with him was to help someone organize him, to identify his areas of strength and weakness, someone other than his parents. And someone other than his parents, not only to identify those strengths and weaknesses, because face it, we're not that objective, but also to kind of guide him and direct him, because as parents, we don't know anything. So we needed somebody, an expert, to come in, someone that he would respect, to tell him what he needed to do to get to where he needed to go.
He was a pleasure to work with as we were developing his resume, and it was really interesting because what I see is that the colleges aren't really they have a one-size-fits-all approach.
Absolutely, absolutely.
College students are individuals. They need to be treated as such, and their attributes need to be highlighted to fit them.
Absolutely. Now, my younger son, who's now going into his third year of college, one of those one-size-fits-all programs, he'd be better served because he does have certain skills that the older one was lacking. And so I think he would be able to figure it out. Not that he didn't benefit from the training with you, because he did immensely, but the college services, because you brought that up, the college services could potentially help him out, because he has enough self-motivation, the ability to actualize than the older one did. So, but definitely for my older son, the school programs were just not enough. They weren't cutting the mustard.
Well, and what I find is that the students are going into the career services programs and they're walking out more confused than when they walked in.
Yes, yes. And still with no guidance, because they're given a form saying, well, this is what your resume should look like. Go make a resume like this. And after working with you, both my boys, their resumes looked nothing like what they were told to do. And the resumes that they were told to do did not get the results that the resumes they did with you got. Once my older one, I'm going to call him Adam for all intents and purposes. Once Adam, because my son, once Adam changed his resume, and I know he fought back with you. He fought with some of your ideas, right? But you guys found a compromise and it worked. Once he changed it, he was getting interviews. He was getting callbacks. He had it took him a while to get a job to close the deal. But as far as getting calls, his resume was getting noticed. And that was a really big change with him. My younger one, who I'm going to call Tom, is in a co-op program. And he has to go on interviews. He has to arrange them himself. He has to send out his resumes, like looking for jobs. And again, once he tweaked his resume and made it look more like what you were suggesting for him than what the co-op program was suggesting, he started to get noticed. And he had several interviews for his co-ops until he was found the one that he liked and that he found was a good fit for him. So, and just recently, he wants to do an investment. He's in business and economics. And he wants to do an investment banking co-op, and they're very competitive. And he didn't think he would get one. Well, he got a call for an interview, a phone interview. And he probably won't get it because there are a lot of very, very experienced co-op students who have already done investment work who will probably get it. But he got noticed. And I think that's huge.
That is huge because the students need to look better than all the other students. They don't want to look like all the other students.
Right.
And that's the difference. They need to stand out above the pack.
Yes, yes. And their resumes, both of them, beautiful, really professional, clean, precise resumes. I mean, that was a real gift working with you, and I'm so glad we found you.
Wonderful. And then we moved on to interview preparation.
Yes.
And for someone who is an introvert, the interview is torture. They can do the job, they just can't get through the interview process.
Yes. So Adam, it took a lot for him to really build the confidence. And I really appreciate how you worked with him tirelessly, practicing, giving him the encouragement. I think the coaching was really great. Again, as parents, everything he does is perfect. You know, we love what you're doing. It's beautiful. But, you know, you were a bit objective. You called him on it. You said, no, you can't say that. You've got to do this. You've got to do that. And by the time he had a few interviews, sessions with you and a few interviews, or going on interviews, by the time he got to interview number 10, 12, he really had it down. There were a couple of them he did on the phone, and I was in within earshot, and he sounded so good. I would think, wow, that's my son talking. That's Adam. Oh, wow. So, you know, I really heard a difference. It was really wonderful.
I think part of the process also is you're the parent. So
Yeah.
although you might know this information, they're not going to want to listen to you. You're
That's right.
just mom and dad.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. Yep. Definitely. Tom, who again, his social skills are much better. He has a much more intuitive understanding of communication. Even for him, some of those interview skills, just preparing him for questions that might be asked, and for him to go in having a repertoire of answers so that if it was this question, he knew what to take out of the toolbox. If it was this, he knew which to take out of the toolbox. And so that was really helpful for him. And his confidence has just shot up. I mean, he's really doing really great with those skills that are coming in handy even with his presentations at school.
Definitely. These are those life skills that no one ever teaches you because they assume you know them, so no one ever teaches you and you never learn them. Right. So these are skills for interviews, but it's carried over to presentations in business moving forward in their careers.
Definitely. Yeah, Adam had to, even something as trivial as they were selling a machine at his work, and he does have an engineering job, and that's his area. They wanted to sell some piece of equipment, and so they put Alex in charge of setting it up on, Marketplace, Facebook, and eBay, and they put him in charge of that. And so he was on the phone talking to people, answering questions, negotiating with them about the price. And so even something as trivial as that, those social skills were put to work. And, it made what would have been a very a painful experience for him, made him, it was run of the mill. It was fine. It was no big deal. So, something like that was really valuable too. It
builds their confidence. It allows them to learn how to present themselves. And really, this whole process is marketing themselves. And the hardest thing to do is to market yourself.
Yes, it is. And in the current climate, it's even harder. The competition is fierce. And so you have to do something that's going to make you stand out. And sometimes it's just dumb luck. But if you take control of what you can control, and so if you put your best foot forward with a great resume and really a good understanding of what's required of you in an interview, then that does put you a a step ahead. That really does add.
This is really that next step. So as we were parents and we got college counselors and we had them take SAT prep classes in order to get into a good college,
Right?
this is now that last step, launching them into their careers, getting them off the family payroll and out of our houses.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And I think that what you bring to the table can be applied to high school students, applying to colleges, and then also graduates looking for work. So it's not just like a one stop kind of program. It can be generalized into other areas of one's education and one's experience.
And I do have some students that I work with from high school through college and even into their careers.
Yeah,
And I just worked with one that came back and said, okay, I'm looking for a new job. Let's get started again and let's
oh,
get this going. Yes.
wow, wow, that's great.
That'll be the next interview.
Yeah.
But we have one who's employed now and one who is still in school, and
Mhm.
I'll be working with him this upcoming year for next summer's employment.
Definitely, definitely, yes. I mean, he does want to go to graduate school eventually, but I think being that he's in business and economics, I think that it's probably good for him to get out there and work a little bit in the field before he decides to go for whatever he wants to go. And that's what the older one did as well. I mean, he's taken this time, and graduate school is on the horizon, but he's got his work experience, which, as you've always said, it's, get out there and work so that when you go to graduate school or when you go on to your next phase, that you've got some experience that you can refer to and that you can use to pump yourself up even more.
Well, in this way also, as you're going to graduate school, you know what you actually want to be doing. You need to experience it a little bit and experience working to make sure that you're on the right path, and maybe you need to adjust the sails into another field that you find more interesting.
Right. Of course. Of course. That makes so much sense.
Well, thank you, Pat Shepard. I greatly appreciate it, and I look forward to working with son number 2 up and coming.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. You've been great. It's been a pleasure working. You've been great with the parents too, holding our hands. Let me just say that, easing our anxiety and saying it's going to be okay. He's going to get a job. He's doing great. So that's been really valuable for us too, to kind of just keep our heads, to keep our heads on straight and not explode with anxiety. So thank you for that. That was extremely helpful, and we thank you for everything.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much. This is Ilene Rein at Pounding Pavement 101.